Hi again, this is Steve Stauning, and thank you for joining me for Undeniable Advantage. We're going to teach you today how to attract and sell more trade-in leads. Now, let me give you some things what to expect today. This is a fact-based training. This means everything I'm going to show you is based on verifiable facts or studies, unless I tell you it's just my opinion. So if I say something works or I say something doesn't work, it's because we've reviewed the tests and studies. We've conducted some of these on our own. Our clients are using these, and I'm giving you the results of all of that research. Now, by popular demand, we will have a bio break today. We will be taking a 4-minute break in the middle of the material. So please stay with me as long as you can. Those of you who had a lot of coffee this morning, please stick with me until we get to the break. It'll be right in the middle of the material. Now, know the laws, please. I'm not an attorney, nor do I know the laws governing every car dealer, power sports dealer, motorcycle dealer, RV dealer, and the marketing in your city, your state, your province, or your country. I don't know the laws that cover any of that. So know the laws before you implement anything I'm going to teach you today, because as you know, Steve Stauning said is not a defense. Steve Stauning said is not even a defense in my own house. So let me take a few minutes to walk you through a couple of resources that I want you to be aware of. If you're not already aware of stevestauning.com and undeniableadvantage.com and what we have on you, what we have for you on those sites for free. So let me take you through just a couple of things on these sites. On stevestauning.com, for example, we've got, if you go to the website, if you're a car dealer, motorcycle dealer, RV dealer, doesn't matter, you go to stevestauning.com, you scroll down in the right margin, you will get to curriculum guides, and it'll say suggested training curriculum for car dealers. Now, when you go to suggested training curriculum for car dealers, you can click through on that. You will see all of the classes that we have on stevestauning.com that are 100% free. That's right, 100% free. They're all video training for your team, but we've broken them up on that page by job title. So if you're a general manager and you want to know which classes you should take, they're on there. If you want your internet manager to take some classes, those are on there. Your BDC agents, your internet salespeople, your floor salespeople, even classes for your receptionist. So that's at stevestauning.com, and those classes apply whether you're a car dealer, motorcycle dealer, power sports dealer, it doesn't matter. All right, now let's look at undeniableadvantage.com because I want you to understand everything about that site as well. So there are a couple places that I want you to focus on, and they're all in the simple menu. There's only 3 menu items: recommended, webcasts, and about. Under webcasts is where we've put all of our webcasts that we've done in the past. So we've got 2 webcasts there now. This one will be there after we record it and clean it up a little bit. We'll post it there probably in about a week. And you can go there at any time to see the full webcast broken out. The other point that I want to focus in on is the recommended. When you go to recommended, that will show you all of the recommended products and services. Now, I want you to understand that I've personally vetted every one of these products, every one of these companies, every one of these services. I know that they work. This is how we pay for Undeniable Advantage. This is how we pay for stevestauning.com. This is how we pay for all of that free training, is we've got the recommended products under undeniableadvantage.com. And I want to ask you a favor. I want you to go there first when you're looking for something to add for your dealership, whether it's a car dealer or a motorcycle dealer. The products and services that I recommend are all listed there. They've been fully vetted. Some of them have special offers that you cannot get anywhere else other than through undeniableadvantage.com. So if you're thinking of adding a product or service, see if you can find it there first. Contact the vendor through my website, undeniableadvantage.com, and then I will earn a small referral fee. My company will earn a small referral fee, and then we'll be able to keep doing these free live webcasts. Now, but here's one more thing. Here's the WIFM, right? What's in it for me? Here's your WIFM. If you order these products through undeniableadvantage.com, I will continue to support that product for you. So if you're having an issue with the vendor, which I doubt you will because I've personally vetted these vendors, if you're having an issue on how to get the most out of a product that you've bought through undeniableadvantage.com, you can contact me, Steve Stauning, and I will talk you through it. I will help you through it. I will help your team get the most out of this. And so you can go to the vendors directly. I love these vendors. That's why they're on this website. But if you go through my website, undeniableadvantage.com, to contact the vendor, we'll earn a small referral fee, but you will also get my expertise from that vendor on anything that vendor sells. All right. Let's talk about what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the best and worst trade practices out there. We're going to teach you how to attract more trade-in leads than you've ever thought possible. We're going to teach you how to get those trade customers to actually take your phone call. Then we're going to teach you how to set real appointments that actually show with those trade-in customers. And finally, we're going to show you how to close those trade-in customers that do show up 80% of the time. Now, let me give you some reality on trade leads, okay? The average dealer closes about 7% of their total leads. This is the average car dealer, closes about 7% of all of their leads, their entire lead bucket. That's what you see in the blue. But that same average dealer closes their website leads above 20%, 20% or better. These are average dealers, folks. Now, that's in the green. But that same average dealer closes their website trade leads at around 6%. That's in the yellow. So you got to be asking yourself, wait a minute, Steve, aren't these trade leads? Aren't they website leads? Why don't they close at 20%? And there are two reasons that you're not closing your website trade-in leads the same way that you're closing your total website leads. One is you're following the wrong processes. We're going to teach you the right processes today. And two is you're using the wrong word tracks. And again, we're going to teach you the right word tracks today so that you can get out of this dilemma. But you know what? There's actually a bit more than that. It's not just enough to get you from a 6% to a 20% closing rate, because there are lots of other ways to grow your sales from trade leads. So just bear with me on this chart for a minute. The blue represents the trade leads that you currently get today. But when you add in the right email marketing and you do instant retargeting, you can grow your trade leads by 40 to 60%. Then if you'll employ a better website trade tool, you can actually double your trade leads, okay? So you can grow by another 100 to 200%. And then finally, when you're using the correct talk tracks, when you're setting real appointments that actually show, and when you're conducting the perfect appointment, you're going to be able to grow by another 150% from your original trade lead. So this is how you're going to be able to more than triple your sales from your existing trade leads. Now, one thing I want to keep you focused on, whenever you're dealing with anything in the dealership, but even and especially trade leads, every step of your process from attracting to selling a trade lead should have one goal. Each step of the process only has one goal. So until we get a trade lead, our goal is to attract trade leads. And we'll take you through how to get more of these trade leads. But once I get a trade lead, I have one goal, and it's not to sell a car. Once I have a trade lead, my goal is to connect with that prospect, the prospect who has said, buy my car. I have one goal, and that's to connect with them. Once I connect with them, I have one goal, and that's an appointment that shows. It's my only goal when I have someone on the phone is an appointment that shows. Now, once I get them to show up, that's when I have the one goal, which is to sell them a car, to transact business. Every step of the way, we have just one goal. So let's dive in. Let's get into part one here, and let's talk about, hey, mommy, where do these trade leads come from? And yes, I can end my sentences with a preposition because this isn't the 17th century, and we're not speaking Latin, so it's okay. All right, so primarily, let's talk about where trade leads come from. Primarily, there really are four areas that I want you to focus on. I want you to focus on website visitors, and these might be service customers that happen to be find your trade form and they're making an inquiry to see what their vehicle is worth. So you're going to get trade leads from your website customers. You're going to get trade leads from third parties like Instant Cash Offer, Kelley Blue Book's Instant Cash Offer. You're going to get trade leads that you generate through your dealer database and through your offline messaging like the We Buy Cars messaging. And we're going to talk about all four of these in detail and how to maximize each of these channels. But I want you to understand, these aren't the only places that dealers get trade leads. In fact, I know lots of dealers who also mine Craigslist listings or use a service to do that and get trade leads. I also know some progressive OEMs like Mitsubishi, for example, that are collecting trade leads right on their primary website. But for today, I'm going to focus on these four areas because these are the areas where you can have the greatest impact as a dealer. Whether you're a car dealer, motorcycle dealer, it doesn't matter. It's these four areas where you can have the greatest impact. So let's talk about this offline messaging, this We Buy Cars messaging. This is very effective offline messaging. You know, we'll buy your car, sell us your car. And this really should be included in your marketing strategy and your website messaging as well. So it's both online and offline that you want to have this strategy of We Buy Cars. Now, there are three ways that you're going to need to use this. One, you may have to use this type of messaging as a necessity, like Texas Direct does. See, Texas Direct Auto's biggest problem is getting inventory. And so they truly will just buy your car whether you buy anything from them or not because they need the inventory. And they have buying centers outside of the Houston area even. And so you can use it as a necessity, We Buy Cars, because you're trying to get better inventory than you can get at the auction, or you're trying to get inventory cheaper than you can get at the auction. You can also use the We Buy Cars messaging as a differentiator. Think about this. If you're in a small market and you don't have any other dealers that are currently using that messaging, you can take one of your minivans, you can wrap it as our mobile buying center, And you can differentiate yourself from the other dealers by having a We Buy Cars messaging, right? Sell us your car. We've got this mobile buying center. It's a way to generate more trade leads because people in your market will begin to think of you as, oh yeah, I want to sell my car and I don't want to sell it myself. I'm going to take it to Steve's Honda because they are the buying center. And then finally, you want to use the We Buy Cars messaging as a diffuser to change the paradigm. And let me explain that. 99% of consumers, according to Driving Sales, expect a hassle when they start the car shopping process. But if we can change the paradigm and instead of them buying a car from us, we're buying a car from them, see, that becomes a diffuser. We can diffuse that negativity that they have by offering to buy their vehicle, by changing the paradigm. Instead of me trying to sell them a car, I'm trying to get them to bring their car in so that I can buy it from them. All right, that's the offline messaging. Let's look at your database. This is also called owner marketing or equity mining. And what we have here, this is most effective though, whether you call it owner marketing, call it equity mining, it's really most effective when you think of it as a proactive vehicle buyback service. So whether it's newsletters or traditional email marketing, it really can be used to generate trade leads. Now I'm showing you one from Three Birds here that I really like. But one of the things that I want you to think about when I talk about owner marketing, when I talk about equity mining, and we'll get to this email in just a second, is I need you to treat your database like the goose that laid the golden eggs. Now, if you're not familiar with that fable, let me take you through it. There's a farmer, he's got a goose. One day he goes to get an egg from the goose and it turns out it's a golden egg. He's like, wow, this is pretty cool. And he tests it, it's real gold. The next day he goes back, underneath the goose is another golden egg. He does it a few more times. Every day there's one golden egg underneath that goose and he gets greedy. And so he goes to the goose and he chops its head off and he reaches inside and there's nothing. There are no golden eggs. He killed the goose that was laying the golden eggs because he got too greedy. I've seen the same thing with dealers and their database. You look at your database as a sponge, which it is, but you try to wring it all out at once, and then you try to wring it out every day or every week, and you end up killing the goose that laid the golden eggs. So let's be smart in our approach to that. Now, I like the Three Birds approach to generating trade leads for you via email marketing and newsletters, and it's superior because of this. This email, one single click on this email generates a value for the customer and the lead for your team, simply by the customer clicking on the get their value. And by the way, this little button has a 23% conversion rate to opens, meaning that if you get 100 prospects to open this email, you're going to generate 23 leads. It's crazy. And the reason that they're able to do that is because they already know who the customer is and they already know what the customer drives. And so that link is already loaded up with all that great information. And the report that Three Birds provides your customer is very transparent that justifies the value. So the customer owes $8,000 on their vehicle. They just click through and it basically says it's worth $6,000. The transparent reporting that Three Birds provides justifies that $6,000 value. And so the customer is more likely to take your phone call and give you a chance to buy their car. Now, I'm not going to go into some long commercial about Three Birds. This is a great tool. If you want more information about Three Birds, you can go to undeniableadvantage.com/Three Birds, or you can call them at the number on the screen, 888-327-8516. But I want to talk about the overall strategy, especially when we talk about this goose that laid the golden egg. When we look at a database strategy for email marketing, you've got to be careful because this is so effective, this 23% conversion rate for those who open that email, because that's so effective, you cannot just send that email out to everybody in your database all at once. Some of you car dealers may have a database of 50,000 or 100,000 people out there, right? Some of you motorcycle dealers who I know are on as well, you may have a database of 5, 6, 8,000 people. You don't need 300 leads dropping onto your team today. So you don't want to send that email to everybody all at once. What you need to do is develop some criteria, okay? So for example, you say, I only want to send this to people who are driving a vehicle, say 2 years old or older, and that's been more than 18 months since they bought the car. So that way, if somebody bought, say, a used Honda Civic last month, they won't get the email that we want to buy their car. Then I'm going to take that database and I'm going to divide it by some number. Let's say 20, okay? Let's say I have 5,000 people in that database, and I'm going to divide it by 20. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send 1/20th of those emails every day. I'm going to send it to 1/20th of the database every Monday through Thursday for 5 weeks. They might be saying, Steve, why don't we send it 7 days a week? Well, a couple things. One, I don't need extra leads on Saturday when my team is already overburdened. Some of you are closed on Sunday. Why would you ever send anybody an email marketing newsletter or something that's going to generate a lead on a day that you can't even get back to them on. But the reason that I do it Monday through Thursday is this. When I get a trade lead, I'm trying to set an appointment for today or tomorrow only. I'm creating a sense of urgency that we're going to buy your car whether you buy anything from us or not. And in fact, we've got a buyer an immediate need for your 2013 Civic. And I'm going to try to set that appointment for today or tomorrow only. So if I've got my team sending these emails out Monday through Thursday only, I'm going to be setting appointments for Monday through Friday. Because again, I already have a big day on Saturday. I don't need a lot of appointments. I want to beef up my Monday through Friday and not my Saturday, Sunday. Now, when we talk about your equity mining strategy when you're using the phone, some of you are calling customers, right? You may be using an equity mining tool. You may just be dipping into your database. Whatever you're doing is fine. And you're doing something like this. You're calling the prospect and you're saying, hey, Mr. Jones, this is Steve Stauning calling from Steve's Toyota. Hey, this may sound a little weird, but my general manager wanted me to call you today because we've got a buyer and an immediate need for your 2013 Tundra. Now, I don't know if you'd consider selling it to us or not, but because we are in a pinch, we're paying above book value. And I've got 2 appraisal times open on Tundras this morning. I've got a 1045 and an 1115. Which one works better for you? If you're doing that on the phone, if your equity mining strategy to generate trade leads is through the phones, then you want to have a similar Monday through Thursday strategy for the exact same reason I just said. There's 2 things you're looking for. You're looking for urgency. I only want to buy your vehicle today or tomorrow, sir. And I'm looking for appointments. And again, Saturdays are already busy enough. All right, let's look at third-party trade leads because I really do like some of the third-party trade leads that are out there today. I really like Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer. I want to be very, very clear on that. I don't want anybody to leave here thinking that I don't love Kelley Blue Book's Instant Cash Offer. I absolutely love them. In fact, they did something like 3 million leads to dealers in 2015. I mean, it's an incredible number. It's a very effective tool. Now, I said I love the Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer, but I don't want it on your website. I love the Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer. Dealers, if you're not doing business with Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer, I recommend you do. But never, ever, ever put it on your website. And here's the reason. One, by the way, there are a lot of reasons, but the main reasons, one, it's an onerous form. The form is way too long. Your goal of your website is to attract visitors and then convert those visitors into buyers. And if you present them with the Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer form on your website, you are much less likely to generate a trade lead. People will not complete that on your website. They're willing to do it at KBB because it feels third party, and they have some bounce too, make no mistake. But the fact is that it's too long of a form for your website. Don't do it. But here's the second reason. Even if they did a shorter form, why would you provide free marketing for KBB.com? Why would you put KBB's logo on your website? You were encouraging your prospects to go look at your competitors' videos. You're encouraging your prospects to go look at your competitors' inventory on KBB.com by putting their product on your site. Again, I love KBB.com's Instant Cash Offer, just not on your website. So we've got a question, no rush. What leads are traditionally better? Third party, new car quote leads, or trade and appraisal leads from the dealer's website? Both are important, but how would you prioritize? Thanks. Okay. When we get to the website lead, by the way, you'll hear me say this again, but I love the website lead. I love the website trade lead, even though it closes lower than a lot of third-party leads. If you're using AutoByTel the right way, you're closing AutoByTel leads at 8, 9, 10%, right? And I've got dealers that are closing AutoByTel leads at 12% because they're following the right processes. But I love that website trade lead. And the reason I do is because it's exclusive, right? It's exclusive to me. So great question. Thank you for that. And remember, if you use the hashtag UDAdvantage, when you have these questions, you'll be entered into our drawing to win that fabulous Morph 3D pen. And you don't just have to ask questions. If you just say something nice like, hey, nice hair, Steve, hashtag UDAdvantage, you will also be entered in. And in fact, I'll probably count that as 5 entries because I'm the one that does the drawing. No, not really. Somebody else on the crew does. All right, so we know we love Kelley Blue Book's Instant Cash Offer. And I'm recommending that car dealers do this, but I am recommending that you keep it off of your website. So let's talk about your website for just a moment. There's a reason that these are the best overall trade leads for you for a few reasons. One, they're exclusive. I just said that. These are first-party leads, and they can close at 20% or better if you do the right thing. Another reason why I like trade leads from your website so much is because they already know you. The customer who went to Kelley Blue Book or Auto Trader, whichever place they got to Instant Cash Offer, and they complete that, That's a great lead, but they don't know you yet. The person who came to your website, maybe they were there for service, they completed it, they know you, they're more likely to connect on the phone if we say the right things. And they're generally speaking, lower funnel leads. So you need to design your website to be a spider web for these leads. Let's understand your website's goals. We've said it once already, but I want to make sure that you understand this. Maybe there's some motorcycle or RV dealers on here who haven't heard me say this before in my training. If you are a for-profit business, if you're a dealer, you're for profit, your website has only two essential goals, only two. One is to attract visitors, and two is to convert those visitors into customers. That's it. Those are your website's only two goals. Now you might say, well, wait, Steve, my website's goal is to showcase all our great Harley inventory. My question to you is, to what end? To what end are you showcasing your inventory? To sell a bike, right? To convert the visitor into a customer. Attract and convert. But wait, Steve, my website's goal is to sell my brand. To what end? To what end are you trying to sell your brand? To convert the visitor into a customer. That's it. The only two goals of your website. Don't overthink your website. Attract visitors, convert visitors. That's it. There's no argument to that. So where should my website focus be on? Let's take a look at where you really should be focusing your website when it comes to trying to generate trade leads. Now we're going to take a look at all of these as we go through, but you really should be focused on the navigation bar or the menu. You want to focus on the vehicle detail pages, that's VDPs for those of you not in the autos business, and SRPs, search results pages. You want to be focused on those. You want to focus on the various messaging and the buttons that you use, the verbiage that you use. You want to focus on mobile, and you want to focus on something called instant retargeting. And I'm going to take you through all of that, and all of these areas can generate more leads for you from your existing website visitors. So let's talk about your navigation bar for a second. This is really critical. I want you to understand how important your navigation bar. If you're a typical dealer, 95% of your homepage clicks are on your navigation menu. 95%, that's 19 out of 20. And so you want to have some conversion message that links to your trade form on virtually every single drop down. Now vary the verbiage like I did. We'll go through these in a second. You absolutely want to have the call to action right in your service menu. You want to absolutely have the call to action in your finance menu. You want to absolutely have the call to action to generate a trade lead in your About Us menu. So like I have here for new vehicles, value your trade, right? Used vehicles, check trade in. The About Us, sell us your car. Schedule service, what's my car worth? Finance application, get your book value. Vehicle research, find trade values. These are 6 different ways of saying the exact same thing, but the reason we say it differently in each drop down is because consumers will become blind to value trade in, value trade in, value trade in, value trade in. If that's all you say on every menu item throughout your entire website. So each menu item, right, each drop down should have one link, one good call to action to your trade-in form, but each one should be different. Because if I didn't attract them with value your trade on new vehicles, maybe sell us your car will be attractive to them under About Us. Now, you might have the question, where do these six links link to? They all link to the same page. It doesn't matter. They can all link to the exact same page, the exact same trade form. The point is we're going to take advantage of all of the opportunities that we have available to us in the navigation bar. All right. Let's look at your VDPs and your SRP opportunities. That's vehicle detail pages and search results pages. So for those of you who don't know, vehicle detail page, that's the page that has the actual vehicle on it and nothing else. It's got the vehicle, it's got details about that vehicle. So if you're a motorcycle dealer, that's the page that's got that one bike that's used that you've got, and you've got all the details about it. That's your vehicle detail page. Your search results page, that's that page that has, 25 different Honda Civics or whatever, 25 used cars. That's a search results page. Now, you want to make sure that you're using an on-page trade form at the top and bottom of your search results pages like I have here. I'm using trade pending. You can see in the top. That's trade pending, and that's what we call an on-page trade form. And the reason you're going to do this is you want to avoid banner blindness. You don't want, let me explain banner blindness. Banner blindness happens to all of us when we're looking at websites like Yahoo or a news site. We all develop banner blindness. See, we know where the banners are and we avoid them with our eyes as we're reading. And on a dealer site, if you've got banners that look like that look like sales banners, right? That look like the same kind of advertising, display advertising that I might see on yahoo.com, people's eyes will avoid it. They'll get banner blindness. So you want to watch out for that. So you want to have a good call to action at the top and bottom of your search results pages that generates trade leads. And then on your vehicle detail pages, you want to have that same call to action very near the price on the VDP, on the vehicle detail page. Now, definitely, by the way, you should use 3 buttons. Now, if you watched our first Undeniable Advantage webcast, Turn Web Visitors into Buyers, you've seen these 3 buttons before: the confirm availability, get our best price, value your trade. Those 3 buttons are on the vehicle detail page of a very progressive dealer who gets it, who understands what their goals are. And so I want a 3-button strategy. Again, you'll have to go back and watch that webcast again to understand why we have a 3-button strategy. But make sure that when you have a 3-button strategy, that value your trade is one of the 3 buttons. All right, so the best, by the way, and I talked about an on-page tool a minute ago. The best on-page trade tool I found is from Trade Pending. It's extremely responsive. As the customer starts to type, you can see in the top there, as they start to type, 2010, and it drops in all the Nissans, and it's got Lincoln Navigator. They can very quickly find their vehicle, their year, make, model, and trim. And it's great for in-page because it doesn't take the customer off of a search results page or a vehicle detail page. That's why I absolutely love it. Now, go to undeniableadvantage.com/trade pending, or call them now at that number on the screen, 888-319-2909, if you want more information about trade pending and if you want to learn more about why I love them. So let's talk mobile now. Your mobile website's pretty important, in case you didn't know. According to Google, half of all searches for car dealer trade values are done on mobile. Isn't that amazing? Half the searches. And oh, by the way, that's a 17% year-over-year increase. That means next year, more than half of the searches on mobile are going to, or more than half of the searches for trade values are going to be on mobile. So your website's trade partner must perform equally well on mobile as it does on desktop. It must be what we call responsive, meaning that it can fit to the screen properly, and it must be, and this is critical, easy to complete. Let's look at long forms on mobile. Your homegrown trade form that your website provider gives you for free, that might be responsive on mobile, like this one is, but nobody's completing this hot mess on their phone, I'm telling you. See, it doesn't matter that it's responsive and it fits, but onerous forms like your website provider's freebie form or the instant cash offer form should not be used on a dealer's mobile website. Remember, your website has just 2 goals: attract visitors and convert those visitors into buyers. That's it. Let's talk about converting more of those visitors to buyers. Let's talk about something called instant retargeting, okay? This is a must-have for all dealer sites, including motorcycle dealers. We'll show you that in a second. Instant retargeting allows you to capture leads from people who've already left your website. So we're going to zoom in. I'm going to show you a quick demo. And this is just a flat demo that I'm going to show you, but we're at a car dealer's website here. And let's say I click to schedule a service appointment. That service appointment opens up in a new tab. If you'll notice, we have 2 tabs open now, where before we just had 1. And so I can schedule service as a customer, but in that original tab, we've actually taken it over and we've put in, in this case, Black Book Activator has put in a trade form and given this dealer one more chance to earn a customer's business, one more chance to generate a trade lead. And so that's what instant retargeting is. The customer's already left your site. They scheduled service. They looked at used cars. They went off to cars.com or something else. And sitting there in that original tab waiting for them is this lead form. Now, this is called instant retargeting. It's available from Jumpstart's Black Book Activator division. Black Book Activator calls it Enhance. So I don't have anything on my website about them, but you can contact, I love this tool. You can contact Black Book Activator at 866-451-6200. Ask them about Enhance. Now, I want to stop for a second because you might say, well, Steve, hold on. You've recommended Instant Cash Offer. You've recommended Trade Pending. And now you're recommending Black Book Enhance. I don't get it. How can I have 3? I want you to understand. Trade and lead generation, this is not your DMS. Trade and lead generators, they're not your DMS. You can and should have more than one. So I recommend Instant Cash Offer for off-site. I recommend Black Book Enhance and the Black Book forms for the links on your site. And I absolutely positively recommend Trade Pending for your on-page forms. You can and should have all three. This is not your DMS. This is not your CRM. You need to cast a wide net. Your website needs to be a spider web for leads. Remember, 2 goals, attract and convert. So don't leave leads laying on the table, especially leads that you can sell because you feel like I can only do business with one. It's silly. You can and should have all three. All right, let's talk about Digital Power Sports real quick. Digital Power Sports is a company that has instant retargeting for motorcycle dealers, and I think RV dealers and power sports dealers. My apologies. I'm not sure. I do know that what they do for motorcycle dealers is great. This is a must-have for all motorcycle dealer websites. Instant retargeting, as I said before, allows you to capture leads from people who've already left your website. So it's available from Digital Power Sports as something called Site Encore Sentry. Also, by the way, Digital Power Sports Mobile is worth a look. There's Digital Power Sports phone number, 866-618-8998. Call them directly for information about this. But let's zoom in on this mobile piece real quick. This is pretty cool. If you're using Digital Power Sports and one of your prospects is on a mobile device and they submit a trade lead to you, they get a text back that they can get that trade lead delivered right into their mobile device as a text message. There's the value, and they'll schedule an appointment right there for this prospect, and all the prospect needs to do is click to call your dealership right from their mobile device. It's pretty slick. All right, so that's instant retargeting. I want to talk about the trade-in prospect in general on dealer sites. Now, whether you're a car dealer, RV dealer, motorcycle dealer, it doesn't matter. I want you to understand the consumer who completes a trade form on your site. The consumer that completes a trade form on a dealer site, they've viewed at least 2 web pages on your site. So we can assume one of the following is actually true for all the completed forms we get from our website, okay? 1, the consumer was shopping for cars. That means they're in market, right? So that lead has come from someone who's in market. Or 2, the consumer was interested in parts or service. That means they're what we call near market, right? They went to your site for parts or service. They saw the call to action for a trade lead. They clicked it to complete it. Those are near market customers. So regardless, though, of why the consumer visited your website, both of these consumer types, the in market and the near market, expect the exact same experience once they've completed that trade form. You need to know this. They expect a value for their current vehicle, and they expect no sales pressure. There's nothing about the trade-in form that says, hey, we're gonna give you a lot of sales pressure and try to sell you something. So we need to think about that when we're talking about trying to connect with these people, and then once we get them on the phone. We'll talk about that later after the break. There's no break coming up yet, don't get excited. But I want you to also think beyond the website, okay? Your website has just 2 goals. We talked about that. Your website's 2 goals are to attract and convert, okay? That's it. You can help your website attract trade leads by including this goal, attracting trade leads, in your e-newsletter, right? Where you're not just sending them to a trade form, but or not just giving them a lead right away or their value right away. In some cases, maybe you don't know who they are, and so you need to send them to your website to complete a trade lead in your e-newsletters or email marketing like we saw earlier. But you also should include this in your Facebook advertising, all of your Facebook posts, your text marketing, anything else you're doing. You need to think beyond the website. Because again, this is a paradigm shift. If I tell someone I want to buy their car, right? And I make that part of my marketing, like CarMax does on Facebook, like Texas Direct does on Facebook, like some progressive motorcycle dealers do on Facebook. If I make that part of my marketing, I am no longer the seller, I'm the buyer, and the customer is more comfortable dealing with me. All right, part 2, and let's dive right into this. This is the trade connection process. And the reason that we have a separate part just to try to connect with trade customers is, for those of you who ever had trade leads, you know what I'm talking about. Connecting with a trade lead can be the most frustrating part of any lead handling process. It's the most frustrating part of any lead handling process, not just trade leads, but especially with trade leads. Now, why is it that trade leads are less likely to reconnect with you than other website leads? I mean, these are website leads after all, and here's why. They got what they needed. See, when we gave them that value, they got what they needed, and now they don't need us. And so when you're trying to connect with a trade lead, you're trying to get them on the phone, you need to understand this. You need to remember this. This means We have to have a robust reconnection process that we're going to look at that's heavy on calls and uses specific templates and scripts directed at trade. We have to make them need us again. That's what you need to understand. It's not enough just to call them up and say, and leave them a voicemail saying, hey, I see you got your trade information. Please call me back if you have any questions. They don't have any questions. They owe $8,000 on their car. You just sent them something via email that says we're going to give you $6,000. They're done with their questions, right? As if they were on your lot. The difference is on the lot, we can roll in the negative equity and we can sell them a car. So we have to look at our mindset. We have to change our mindset, right? Every trade lead is an offer to buy the prospect's car. That's all it is. They're not looking for more information. They weren't just seeing what their car was worth off our website, right? These are not leads. These are offers to buy. And then second thing that we need to focus on trade leads, right, is that vehicle of interest. We get the trade lead, right? They've got a 13 Camry, and then we get the vehicle of interest, a 2017 Avalon. We need to disregard the vehicle of interest. I'm going to say that again. Disregard the vehicle of interest. When you're trying to connect with someone, don't even talk about the vehicle of interest. Act as if you don't even know it. It doesn't exist. See, trade forms ask for a vehicle of interest kind of as an afterthought. They really do. The reason that a lot of the trade companies ask for a vehicle of interest is because as dealers, you've said, wait, I don't know, how do I contact this guy? What kind of car does he want? We need to remember the vehicle of interest is an afterthought. Disregard it. If they're really interested in that 17 Avalon, they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you as you try to reconnect with them on buying their Camry. But if they're not, and you focus on it, if you focus your communication to them on the 17 Avalon, they're never going to reconnect. You have one goal when you get a trade lead. What is it? It's to reconnect. That's your only goal. Okay, so let's reconnect, all right? Let's talk about our one goal strategy. Our one goal strategy is to reconnect, not to sell. Now you want to be fast and you want to be first. A company called CraftJack found that dealers who connect first with a prospect are 238% more likely to sell them a car than the one who connected second. Isn't that gigantic? So you need to be first. You have to be fast with your response to them if you want to reconnect. But number two is your response should be call heavy. Let's take a look at this chart from Velocify. Velocify did a study and they found that it takes 6 calls to pretty much reach everybody you're going to reach. What this chart shows us is that if you only make one call, you're only going to reach 48% of the people who are willing to reconnect with us. But by the 6th call, you're going to reconnect with 93% of those who are willing to reconnect. So what they're telling us here, 6 calls is enough. Yeah, you heard it from me first. Don't make more than 6 calls. Listen, if I could get every dealer that I work with for their team to actually make 6 calls, I'd be a hero. They'd be selling so many cars, it'd be crazy. You also want, when you're reconnecting, you want to have short text-only emails. And when you're sending text messages to the customer, to the prospect, when you're sending them text messages, you want to have request to text, and you want to do it through the CRM. You do not want to text the customer directly from your own phone. Now, if you're a salesperson on this seminar today, you're saying to yourself, no, Steve, I love just using my phone and texting them right away. Let's talk about texting outside the CRM. Now, I'm not a lawyer, as you know, but I want you to look at the pitfalls of the free texting. I need you, if you have any control in your dealership, to purchase the texting module from your CRM company because it's not too expensive. I've seen what they cost and they're all worth it. So, and I don't know in motorcycles, but I do know in autos, that texting tool is worth it. And here's why. The TCPA, the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, which covers texting, will apply a $1,500 fine per offending text. So let's say you have 15 salespeople who work for you, and they send 15 texts a day to prospects from their mobile devices without permission. In 5 days, believe it or not, that's 1,125 offending text messages. At $1,500 a pop, that's $1,687,500 fine for you from the TCP by violating the TCPA. That's after 5 days. That CRM module doesn't seem too expensive now, does it? All right, let's talk about why the reconnection process with this prospect is difficult, because once we focus on why, once we understand why the reconnection process is difficult, we'll be able to reconnect with a greater percentage of people who've submitted a trade lead. The main reason that the reconnection process is difficult is they got that low value, right? Or low range, at least low in their mind. See, they owe $8,000 for their car. We just told them we're going to give them $6,000, okay? If they were in store, we would, as I said earlier, we'd roll in the negative equity, right? We wouldn't hand them their keys back and say, come back after you pay off $2,000 more on your car. No. In fact, if somebody came in today and was only $2,000 upside down on their current car, a lot of us would just cry, wouldn't we? We'd be like, yeah, you're the most qualified person we've had all month. We would sell them a car. But when they're sitting at home and they just found out you're only going to give them $6,000 for an $8,000 car, $8,000 in their mind, they're not going to reconnect. So we need to address that lower value in our templates. We need to talk about it only being a computer value, okay? We need to do that in our templates, in our voicemail scripts. The second reason why we're not connecting with trade leads is we're focused on selling the vehicle of interest instead of getting them on the phone. We are the interested buyers. That's the way we need to look at these leads. We're the interested buyers. Change your focus. You're focusing on the wrong thing right now. And number three, we're making one or fewer calls. We have a weak process, right? We've got a bad process in place. We're making one call. They don't call us back. We cherry pick everything. See, if it was easy, anybody could do this. You've got to make those 6 calls. You've got to make those 6 calls, and you've got to use the right voice messages. So let me show you my basic internet processes over the years, because I want to be very clear about the way that we connect with people today. On the far left, you are looking at my 2006 internet sales connection process. It was 150 days long, and that's the blue and the green together. And the green represents the phone calls, when we stopped making phone calls. In 2006, my internet sales process that I was teaching required phone calls through day 60. 5 years later, we dropped it to a 120-day process with calls required through day 30. In 2016, this year, we've dropped our process again. Now we're saying the internet sales process shouldn't go longer than 90 days. This is trying to reconnect with someone, by the way. The internet sales process shouldn't go longer than 90 days, and we're going to require calls only through day 23. But in 2017, and right now it's what I teach, but for you, for next year, for right now, your trade-in lead process shouldn't be longer than 30 days, and you shouldn't be making calls beyond day 11. And the reason is there's no ROI in those calls, right? You saw the Velocify data. After 6 calls, we've already connected with 93% rather of the people who are willing to connect with us. If you're making 20 calls to internet sales prospects, you're wasting your time. Get more leads and make 6 calls to each one of them, rather than have few leads that you're making 20, 25 calls to each person. Now, all of my processes include this. Day 1, we always send an auto response. I'm not going to argue with you about it. We send an auto response. We're going to look at one in just a second. Oh, and by the way, if you want my 2017 trade process, if you want every template, every email, every voicemail script, if you want that entire 30-day process, stay tuned till the end of the session. I'm going to tell you exactly where to find it on our site. We've hidden it. No, not sort of. It's on our site, and I'll show you where to find it. All right. So this is my process for all of my processes on day 1. They're all the same. Auto response. I send an auto response, and we're going to look at that in just a second. And then we're going to look at that. We're going to make phone calls. We're going to make up to 3 phone calls the first day, depending on what time the lead arrived. Now, this doesn't matter if it's a trade lead or a sales lead. People are hottest on their first day. I can't wait for them to get buyer's remorse before they've ever bought, right? So I'm going to try up to 3 times if the lead came in early enough. And I'm only going to send 1 personal email to all non-connected prospects. So if I haven't connected with someone, I'm sending the first personal email on day 1, and after that, all emails are automated. Don't overthink these emails. So we've got a question. Would you suggest not sending the prospect a trade-in value? Thanks. You know what? A couple of years ago, I would have said, yes, don't send them a trade-in value. Today, I am 100% for sending them a trade-in value because we've got the right word tracks to use. But I also want to always send them a range, okay? That's another reason why I don't want instant cash offer on my website. I want a range every single time. I can talk through that range and I can get a hold of someone pretty easily, and then I've got some great talk tracks that we're going to teach you today. But I absolutely positively want to send them a value. Again, a couple of years ago, I was kind of against it because I wanted to get them on the phone. But I can get them on the phone today using the right templates and using the right process. So great question. Again, stay tuned to the end. I'll tell you exactly where you can get my process. So this is my, we'll show my auto response here in just a second. So this is my auto response, and I'm going to go through it, and then we'll talk about auto responses in general. So confirmation from Steve's Honda. Hi, Bob. This is an automated response to let you know we received your request for a no-obligation vehicle appraisal. We are always in the market for great used cars, and often we'll buy yours whether you buy ours or not. Our team is working on your information. We'll get back to you shortly. Please respond to this email if you're ready to schedule your no obligation priority appraisal. Otherwise, I will call you shortly if you provided a phone number to help you schedule this. Or if you prefer, you may call me anytime at, there's my phone number. We look forward to helping you get the most money for your vehicle. Thank you for your interest in Steve's Honda. That's my auto response. And I want you to understand a few things about the auto response. And oh, by the way, the people who are anti-auto response, I won't name names, but I know there's an OEM that teaches you not to do an auto response. And so I have a client who uses that OEM, and I shopped the client through the OEM site. And what did I get from the OEM? Oh yeah, an auto response. An auto response is a confirmation to the customer that you got their information. It's like the confirmation email I get when I order something from Amazon, right? It's not enough that they show me the thank you page. I want that response back to know that they got my information. So let me give you some basics on your auto response. Your auto response should always indicate that it is an automated response. Don't try to fool people. They're not stupid. They clicked submit. They got an email. A second later, 5 seconds later, they know it's an auto response, okay? Tell them that you've received their info in the auto response. Tell them that we are in need of used vehicles. Tell them that we want to schedule an appraisal. See, we're going to set up the next steps for them right now through the auto response. And tell them that we will be in contact with them shortly. And the reason you're telling them all these things in the auto response is so they'll take our call. Because the auto response goes out and then you pick up the phone 4, 5, 7 minutes later, they're going to take our call. And it's one goal throughout. Don't overthink this. The goal of the auto response is just to set the stage, right? The goal of your email, every email you send to a prospect is to drive a phone call back. When we leave a voicemail, we only have one goal. That's to drive a call back. And the goal of our calls or our text messages, because text messages are mini phone calls, by the way, they're not mini emails. The goal of our phone calls, when I have someone on the phone or I'm texting back and forth with them, I have one goal, and that's to set an appointment that shows. That's it. Now, for the rest of the process, and we're not going to go through every email template. Again, you can have my entire process. At the end, I'll show you where to get it on my website. But for the rest of the process, all emails and voicemails really should be specifically related to buying the prospect's vehicle. They should all reiterate that the dealership is very interested in the prospect's vehicle. They should explain that the used car manager is anxious to get a look at the prospect's vehicle to give them a firm value, right? Because they got that $6,000 value, they're not so happy, but we're going to give them a firm value. We need to reaffirm that the dealership will buy their car whether or not the prospect buys anything from us. And all emails and voicemails should direct the prospect to call us back as soon as possible to set up that no-hassle appraisal appointment. All emails and voicemails should explain that only a trained appraiser knows what the prospect's vehicle is worth, right? And all emails and voicemails should avoid any mention of the dealership's inventory or anything else the prospect may construe as being salesy. You cannot sell an empty seat. You cannot sell someone through email, okay? So stop talking about your inventory to somebody who said, hey, how much is my 15 Camry worth? Give them a value, and then make sure that all of your emails and templates are focused on all the things that I just talked about. Now, there are 5 keys to a good voicemail. I'm going to take you through all 5. The first one is be enthusiastic. This is a big deal for them. So what do I mean by enthusiastic? I mean, when you pick up your red phone, and you all have a red phone, right? When you pick up your red phone and you're leaving a voicemail, you're going to say, hey, Mr. Jones, this is Steve Stauning calling from Steve's Honda. We are absolutely excited to see your 1977 Gremlin. Be enthusiastic about it, okay? Even if it's a wholesale unit. We can't sell an empty seat. We've got to get them in the door. You also need to be prepared, okay? You need to read the lead first. You need to understand what they have, and you need to talk specifically about their vehicle in the voicemail. You don't want to talk about vehicles in general or your used car, okay? So be prepared. Know what they have. You need to give them a compelling reason to call you back, right? We want to set up we want to give you a firm written offer. We want to set up a priority appraisal for you so we can get you in and out quickly. You want to have one single call to action in every voicemail. And the only call to action you want is call me back at, right? And you give them your phone number. That's the only call to action you want. And you need to highlight your persistence in every voicemail. What do I mean by that? I mean, we're going to highlight our persistence by saying, and don't worry if you can't get back to me right away, I'm going to try again later. See, if I leave somebody 2 voicemails throughout the day and each one I ended with, and don't worry if you can't get back to me right away, I'm going to try again later, and they had submitted a lead earlier today, when I call them that 3rd time, guess what they're going to do? Yeah, they're going to take my call, okay? They're going to take my call because they know I'm just going to keep calling and calling and calling. So let's do a quick voicemail here. This is an equity mining voicemail. This means I've been tasked with calling this customer and trying to buy their vehicle. And this is a pretty typical voicemail that I'm going to leave if I'm calling customers from my database and trying to get them in on a trade value. Hi, Bob. This is Steve Stauning calling from Steve's Ford. My general manager wanted me to call you today to see if you'd be interested in selling your F-150 back to us. We're in a pinch because we have a buyer and an immediate need, and we're having trouble locating an F-150 like yours. Anyway, Bob, please call me back so we can get you a written offer, or written appraisal rather, on the truck. My number is 555-1212. Once again, that's 555-1212. And don't worry, Bob, if you can't get back to me right away, I'll try you again later. Thanks, and talk to you soon. So that's a very typical equity mining voicemail that we might leave. Now, I want to be clear on a few things. I'm not ever going to lie to a prospect. So I just called this guy and I said, my general manager wanted me to call you today. Is that true? Ask your general manager. It's absolutely true. Your general manager wants you to call every day, okay? Then I said, we've got a buyer in immediate need for his F-150. Is that true? Absolutely. Our buyer is probably our used car manager, but that's our buyer. We've got a buyer and we have an immediate need because we're in the car business. We always have an immediate need. But let's look at my 5 keys to a good voicemail. I was enthusiastic, right? I was prepared. I knew he had an F-150, okay? I gave him a compelling reason to call me back. Call me back so we can get you a written appraisal on your truck, right? We're in a pinch. We have a buyer in immediate need. Those are the compelling reasons. I gave him that single call to action. Anyway, Bob, please call me back so we can get you a written appraisal, right? Call me back. And number 5, I highlighted my persistence. I said, don't worry, Bob, if you can't get back to me right away. I'll try again later. Thanks, and talk to you soon. So that's an equity mining voicemail. They're very easy to do. Nothing you need to overthink. I want to talk now about connecting with that instant cash offer customer or other third-party trade-in customers. Some of my dealers have quote unquote too many leads from instant cash offer. I don't want to turn these leads off. I want to keep them all. Okay, I want to be clear on that. But when you have what you think are too many leads from instant cash offer or from a third party, you need to understand that you should probably have 2 process paths. So let's look at this. Let's say we've got a dealer in Midland, Texas, okay? They might be getting instant cash offer leads from that entire radius that we have out there, okay? They may be getting them from Lubbock and Abilene and San Angelo and Fort Stockton and Hobbs, New Mexico. And so if we're this dealer in Midland, Texas, we're going to be getting instant cash offer leads from people who are two hours away, okay? And if that's the case, then what we want to do is we want to set up a process where we look at close in and desirable vehicles. You choose what close in means and you choose what desirable means. So for example, close in, it'd be Odessa, right? Midland, that would definitely be close in. Desirable would be something that's in my core, right? Some piece of inventory that I need. If I'm a Honda dealer and someone has a 14 Civic that's got 12,000 miles on it, that's a desirable unit. So even if they're in Lubbock, I'm going to make 6 calls to them until I get a hold of them. But you don't want to make 6 calls to every prospect. We need to be realistic, right? It's a 2-hour drive from Lubbock. If somebody has a 77 Gremlin in Lubbock that they've completed the instant cash offer form on, I'm making 1 call tops, okay? And if I don't get a hold of them, I'm leaving a voicemail, I'm telling them how they can get back to me, and that's it. So we want to have 2 separate processes. One for people who have desirable vehicles or they're close in. Those are the people that I'm going to make 6 calls to over the course of those 11 days. And then I have another process for people that are far away or have vehicles that, listen, my used car manager wants nothing to do with, okay? And those people are going to get maybe 1 phone call, maybe 2 tops, because by 2 calls I've connected with 70% of the people who are willing to reconnect with me. So 2 calls tops, and then after that the emails take over. So let's be realistic with that. Let's talk about our talk tracks with the trade prospect, right? Once we get someone on the phone. So we've got them on the phone, and now we have 1 goal, and that's an appointment that shows. Remember the number 1 objection you're always going to hear. You're going to hear this: oh, I'm not in the market to buy. I was just curious to see what my car was worth. I'm going to call bull on this, okay? In the words of Blake from Glengarry Glen Ross, you know, Alec Baldwin's character, a guy don't walk on the lot lest he wants to buy, okay? Nobody completes that form unless they wanted to sell their car. They're embarrassed. They got a low value. Be prepared for this one big lie. That is the one big lie you're going to hear when you get someone on the phone. Oh, I'm not in the market to buy a car. I was just curious to see what my car was worth. Be ready for that, okay? Now, why do they say this? They say this because the value return was lower than they hoped. Now, what if they were on your lot already? We've been through this. Guy thinks his car's worth $8,000. We just told him $6,000, right? We sell him a car. You cannot sell an empty seat, so go for the appointment. When you hear that from someone, oh, I was just seeing what my car was worth, go for the appointment. You have 1 goal, And that's it. It's an appointment that shows. It's my only goal. So this is my response to that guy. The guy says, hey, I was just seeing what my car was worth. I say this, I understand that my used car manager actually wants to see your Camry ASAP. He thinks the computer got it wrong and he wants to make you a written offer. Only a trained appraiser knows what your car is really worth, so he often pays much more than what the book shows. Now, I do have 2 appraisal times open on Camrys this afternoon. I've got a 2:15 and a 2:45. Which one works better for you? See, it doesn't matter that the customer told me he really wasn't in the market, because I know he is, and I go for the appointment right away. It's the only goal I have when I get somebody on the phone. And remember to be excited. Oh my God, you've got a 77 Gremlin? We haven't seen one of those ever, okay? And in general, you should be ready to reiterate that the dealership is very interested in the prospect's vehicle. You should explain that the used car manager is anxious to give them a firm value. That creates a real sense of urgency. You need to reaffirm that the dealership will buy the prospect's vehicle whether or not the prospect buys anything from the dealership. And you should direct the conversation to securing a firm appointment for today that shows. And explain that only a trained appraiser knows what their vehicle is worth. You need to say all of these things. And oh, by the way, your words matter. When you say something silly like, when would you like to come in? You're saying, we're not busy. Come in anytime you want. We're not that interested in your vehicle anyway, okay? And when you say, when would you like to come in? You hear things like, I'll be in before 9. You hear, I'll get there around noon. I think I can be there after 5. I'll see you Saturday morning. The problem with those 4 is none of those are appointments. The customer says, I'll be there before 9. We're not going to see him. The customer says, I'll get there around noon. We're not going to see him. I think I can be there after 5. Yeah, I think. I'm not. There's no commitment, right? You have to tell them what you want them to do. You have to ask for the appointment. You have to ask for the appointment in a way that creates importance and urgency. Your goal is an appointment that shows, and it's the only goal that you have when you have someone on the phone. So when I'm asking for the appointment, I say things like this. I say, I've got 2 appraisal times open on Camrys this afternoon. I've got a 12:45 and a 1:15. Which one works better for you? See, that creates a sense of urgency and importance, right? Let's say it's 11:45. I'm asking for an appointment an hour from now and an hour and a half from now. And I'm saying I've only got Camry appraisal times open on Camrys this afternoon. So, wow, those guys are buying Camrys. I better get down there. All right, you want to make sure that you ask for the appointment and you ask for it in the outbound call. Doesn't matter what they say. So let's just do a quick sample outbound call, right? I pick up my red phone here and I make the call. I pick up the red phone, I make the call, and I finally get the customer on the phone. And the customer says, we're having technical difficulties. Here's the red phone that I picked up, right? I pick up the red phone. I say, hey, Mrs. Jones, it's Steve Stauning calling from Steve's Honda. Did I catch you a bad time? She says, yeah, I've fallen and I can't get up. I say, great, I understand. I'm just calling to schedule your priority appraisal on the 2014 Impala. Now, we've got 2 appraisal times open this evening on sedans. We've got a 5:15 and a 5:45. Which one works better for you? And now I'm going to be quiet and wait. Now, I'm really not going to be that cruel. If she's fallen and can't get up, I will call 911 for her. But I need to be prepared when I say, did I catch you at a bad time, for them to say, yeah, it's a bad time, okay? They finally took my call because I left 2 other voice messages earlier today. I only have one goal when I catch them on the phone, and that is an appointment that shows. What I cannot do is I cannot try to schedule a time to call her back later. I have one goal, and that's an appointment that shows. So when I get her on the phone, no matter what she says, did I catch you at a bad time, I'm going to say, great, I understand. I'm calling to schedule your priority appraisal on the 2014 Impala, and I'm going to move right on from there. Now, it's important to understand, sometimes they're not going to say, sure, right? Sometimes they're not going to say, absolutely, come on in, okay? Sometimes they're going to say no, right? And you need to understand why, because I can't overcome no. And here's some secret words that you need to start saying. You need to learn to say this. It would be irresponsible for a dealer to give you a value over the phone because only a trained appraiser knows what your vehicle is worth. And regardless of what objection they have, you want to frame the next steps in a way that overcomes the objection. So for example, she says, I can't come in, I just want a firm written offer, I don't have time, right? So your response to her is, Mrs. Jones, I understand. The best way for us to save you time is to schedule a priority appraisal where we'll get you in and out very quickly. Now I have 2 priority appraisals open on sedans this afternoon. I've got a 12:45 and a 1:15. Which one works better for you? And we got a quick question that I want to answer. What are the most important personally identifiable questions on a trade form? Personally identifiable is I want name, email, and I'm going to ask for phone number, but I'm not going to make it a required field if I have control over that. I'm also, by the way, going to let my my trade form vendor, if it's Black Book doing the instant retargeting, their enhanced product, or if it's trade pending on my on-page forms, I'm going to let them determine what kind of information I need from the prospect because they're the experts at this. But frankly, for all of my website lead forms on my site, I want to know name, I want to know email, I'm going to ask for phone number, but I'm not going to make it a required field. And obviously, if it's trade, I want year, make, model, right? Those are the things that I want and that I absolutely need from those forms. So I'm hopeful that answered your question. All right, let's talk about other common trade objections that we're going to get. Now, we're ready for the one big lie, right, of trade leads, right? That's the I wasn't in the market, I was just kind of curious what my car was worth. But there are other common objections that we're going to get, and I need you to approach each one as if it's just a smokescreen because they are just smoke screens. Don't get me wrong. They are embarrassed. If you get a hold of them and they still don't want to come in, it's because they owe $8,000 and you told them $6,000. And so you got to treat these objections like they're smoke screens, but I do want to make sure you understand one thing. You are not going to set an appointment that shows with every single person you talk to. It's not possible. Remember this, if they're unwilling to set an appointment with me, they're not a fit. They're simply not a fit. So let's talk about one of the most common trade objections that I get, and that is, I want to wait. Customer says, I want to wait. Here's my response. Hey, that makes sense to me. Of course, because the average used car depreciates about $70 to $100 a week in value. Every month you wait, you could be losing hundreds of dollars. So let's do this. Let's schedule a priority appraisal now, get you a firm written offer, and then you can decide if it makes sense to wait. Now we have 2 appraisal times open on Camrys this afternoon. We have a 12:45 and a 1:15. Which one works better for you? See, customer said they wanted to wait. I agreed that they should wait, right? Makes sense. And then I immediately went for the appointment. How about this one? I want to do some more research. We're going to hear that all the time, right? Here's my response to, I want to do some more research. Absolutely, I agree. So let's do this. Let's schedule a priority appraisal so we can get you a firm written offer quickly, and then you can go home and make an informed decision. This will also give you a chance to ask our appraiser any questions you might have. Now, we have 2 appraisal times open on F-150s this morning. We've got a 10:15 and a 10:45. Which one works better for you? See, he wanted to do more research. I didn't stop him. I encouraged him. Absolutely, makes sense. How about this one? Online offer is too low. We gave him an offer that's too low. Here's how I'm going to respond. Yep, I hear that all the time. The offer you got online was a sight unseen appraisal. My used car manager thinks the computer got it wrong and wants to make you a written offer. You know, only a trained appraiser knows what your car is really worth, and he often pays much more than what the book shows. Now, I do have 2 appraisal times open on Camrys this afternoon. I've got a 2:15 and a 2:45. Which one works better for you? I'm answering their objection, their smokescreen, and then I'm immediately going in and setting the appointment. That's my only goal when I get someone on the phone. It's not to vomit information on them. It's not to get in a tennis match where I hit the ball in their court, they hit the ball in my court, we go back and forth. You will lose all pre-visit information exchanges. I want to be clear on this. You will absolutely lose all pre-visit information exchanges. I'm not saying don't tell them things. I'm not saying don't address their objections. I'm saying we've already given them a value. Everything they're doing now is a smokescreen, and we need to get them in the door, okay? So another one that we're going to hear, another objection is, I'm going to sell it myself. Let's take a look at that one, right? Somebody says, hey, I'm going to sell it myself. You say, hey, that makes sense. You want to be sure you can get all you can for it, right? Of course, because this state only charges sales tax on the difference between the price of a new vehicle minus the trade-in, you could be losing hundreds by selling it yourself. Plus, my manager usually beats those online offers. So let's do this. Let's schedule a priority appraisal where I can get you a firm written offer on your Camry. Now, I've got 2 priority appraisals open on Camrys this afternoon. I've got a 2:15 and a 2:45. Which one works better for you? Now, that is my second favorite response to someone who says they want to sell it themselves. My first favorite response to someone who says I'm going to sell it myself is, what are you, crazy? People get killed on Craigslist all the time. No, I'm not really going to say that. Just seeing if you're paying attention. Hashtag UD Advantage. Hashtag UD Advantage. You'll get a chance to win the Morph Pen. All right, here's another objection you're going to hear. They've been to your site and then they went to KBB or somewhere else, right? And they got a higher value somewhere else. They're going to say, I got a higher value from KBB. Here's my response. Yep, that happens. Different online tools give different values sight unseen. Of course, only a trained appraiser knows what your car is really worth, and it would be irresponsible for anyone to give you a firm offer sight unseen. So let's do this. let's schedule a priority appraisal where we can give you a firm written offer. Now I've got 2 priority appraisal times open on Camrys this afternoon. I've got a 2:15 and a 2:45. Which one works better for you? We can also get this one a lot. This is where the customer got a firm offer from our competitor. So I'm Steve's Honda and Bob's Toyota. He likes to give a firm offer over the phone. So he has a trade appraisal form and it's got a range, but when people call, he'll give them a firm number. And someone's throwing that in my face because I've told them that only a trained appraiser knows what their vehicle's worth. It'd be irresponsible for a dealer to do that. And they throw in my face, they say, well, right there on their mobile device, they say, well, Bob's Toyota gave me a firm offer. That was my customer voice. And I say this, I say, sight unseen. Ma'am, there are only 2 things a dealer can do to use sight unseen on your trade. One is lowball you and the other is lie to you. Because only a trained appraiser knows what your car is worth and it would be irresponsible for anyone to give you a firm offer sight unseen. So let's do this. Let's schedule a priority appraisal where we can give you a firm written offer. Now I've got 2 priority appraisals open on Civics this afternoon. I've got a 2:15 and a 2:45. Which one works better for you? And finally, you'll hear this smokescreen objection, and that is they've completed your trade form online. They got your value. Then they went to autotrader.com or cars.com and they looked at all of the vehicles similar to theirs, right? They looked at all the rest of the 2012 Civics. And they noticed that all of those are priced higher than what you've offered. And they're going to throw it in your face. They're going to say, wait a minute, why is the trade value lower than the selling price? And we got to be ready for that. Here's our response. I hear that a lot. There are lots of reasons, but primarily it's because the average dealer incurs hundreds or even thousands of dollars in inspections and repairs and reconditioning costs just to get the vehicle ready for sale. But listen, to ensure you get the most for your trade, let's do this. Let's get you a firm written offer. As you know, only a trained appraiser knows what your car is really worth, and we have 2 appraisal times open on Camrys this afternoon. I've got that 2:45 and a 3:15. Which one works better for you? See, they wanted to know why it was higher. I could go into a long explanation that's all it's going to do is talk about it coming in the dealership. Or I can explain very quickly why it's different and then offer to get them a firm written offer with the idea that maybe that firm written offer is going to be higher. Now, there are also objections we're going to get when we're calling our owner database, right? Our owner marketing, our equity mining, right? When we're trying to buy someone else's car. And these objections, I want you to understand, they're buying signals. They're not objections, but they're a trap. Don't fall for them. Treat these buying signals like objections and go for the appointment. Don't start answering these owner marketing traps that are out there. So I've called Mr. Jones. I've said, Mr. Jones, I've got a buyer in immediate need for your vehicle, right? And he's excited. He says, yeah, I'd love to sell my F-150. What about my payments? Okay, well, here's how I'm going to answer that. Mr. Jones, when we're in need of a customer's vehicle, we are often able to keep them at or near the same payment in a brand new vehicle. Of course, we do have a buyer in immediate need for your vehicle, and we have 2 appraisal times open on F-150s this afternoon. I've got a 2:45 and a 3:15. Which one works better for you? See, I didn't get down in the weeds about his payment because what if he only has 6 payments left? And I start talking about payments and how Ford has 0% interest right now and how we should be able to keep him close to his same payment on a 72-month term. And he starts thinking, wait, I have 6 payments left and then I own this thing outright or I can go 6 more years. He's not going to come in for an appointment. You have one goal when you get someone on the phone, say it with me, an appointment that shows. It's my only goal. So I have him on the phone. He's asked one of those trap questions. What about my payments? Treat it like an objection. Here's another one. Guy's really interested in selling. He says, hey, how much are you going to give me? Here's how we respond. Well, because we do have a buyer and an immediate need for your vehicle, we are often able to pay more than book value. Of course, only a trained appraiser knows what your vehicle is worth, and it'd be irresponsible for a dealer to give you a price sight unseen. Though I do have 2 appraisal times open on F-150s this afternoon. I've got a 2:45 and a 3:15. Which one works better for you? I got the question earlier, do I like giving a trade value on a form? And I said, yes, I do today. But this is different. If you tell that customer who you called, right, and you're calling to buy their vehicle, right, these are equity mining calls or owner marketing calls, and you give them the ballpark, you give them the Black Book ballpark, you're not going to sell them a car because they're never going to come in. This is where I'm going to avoid that. Okay, I'm going to make sure they understand only a trained appraiser knows what their vehicle is worth. I'm going to give them a firm written offer, but I can't give them a price sight unseen. Once you give them that ballpark, they're done. They don't need you anymore. They start to do the math in their head and they think, you know what, this isn't worthwhile. One of the best buying signals you ever get is, what am I supposed to drive home? But this is a trap. When someone says, what am I supposed to drive home? You cannot dive into Mr. Salesman. Okay, you can't become Steve Stauning super salesman. You can't start saying, oh, you're not going to believe the deals Ford has right now. My gosh, 0% financing, 72 months. We're going to give you, you'll have a great new F-150. You'll love it. No, stop selling. You cannot sell the car on the phone. You cannot sell an empty seat. We have one goal, and it's an appointment that shows. So the customer says, what am I supposed to drive home? Here's how I'm going to respond. Great question. You know, Ford has some of the best deals I've seen in a long time going on right now. Though we do have a buyer and an immediate need for your vehicle, and I have 2 appraisal times open on F-150s this afternoon. I've got a 245 and a 315. Which one works better for you? See, he asked, what's he supposed to drive home? I answered it in what? 8 words? Don't get in the weeds with these things. We have one goal, and it's an appointment that shows. Once he gets there, we'll be able to sell him a car. Now, here's a trap. I understand today's Friday for those of you watching this live, but let's say today's Monday. And I've just called this Mr. Jones, and I said, I've got a buyer in immediate need for his Tundra, okay, here at Steve's Toyota. I said, hey, Mr. Jones, it's Steve Stauning from Steve's Toyota. This may sound a little weird, but my general manager asked me to call you today. I've got a buyer in immediate need for your 2012 Tundra. Now, I don't know if you consider selling it or not, but we do have 2 appraisal times open on Tundras this afternoon. We've got a 245 and a 315, which one works better for you? And he says, you know, I've been thinking about selling my Tundra. That sounds great. I could be in on Saturday. Now, I just told him on Monday, I've got a buyer and an immediate need for his vehicle. Today's Monday. He wants to come in on Saturday. If I set that Saturday appointment on Monday, I can kiss it goodbye. I'm never going to sell this guy a car. I guarantee it. This guy is not, he's going to drive past our dealership in a new vehicle, not a Tundra. And here's the reason. Today's Monday, here's Saturday. If I just gave him new car fever on Monday, what's he going to do between Monday and Saturday? He's going to shop. Where is he not going to shop between Monday and Saturday? He's not going to shop with me. Why is he not going to shop with me Monday through Saturday? Because he has an appointment for Saturday. There's no reason to shop with me. He's going to gather information. He's going to go into every dealership like this. Hey, I'm just looking. I'm going to buy on Saturday. I'm just trying to gather information. Somebody walks into my dealership like that, first thing I do is I slap them a high five because they just bought a car, all right? He's going to run into a salesman. And I'm the reason that the other guy got the deal and not me, because I scheduled a Saturday appointment on a stinking Monday. I called him and I said, I have a buyer in immediate need for your vehicle. So here's how I'm going to respond to Mr. Jones. Now, you've got to be ready to do this, right? Mr. Jones says, I can be in on Saturday. I'm going to say, oh, that's okay, Mr. Jones. I do have an immediate need, and I have 10 more Tundra owners on my list to call today. So if I can't get one of them to sell me their truck today or tomorrow, I'm going to give you a call on Friday and schedule that Saturday appointment. How's that sound? See, I'm calling his bluff. I'm going to tamp down his new car fever, okay? I'm going to keep him from going somewhere else Monday through Saturday. Now, I can tell you what's going to happen. He will say, oh, I can be in tomorrow. I'm going to say, great, you just saved me 10 calls. I'm going to schedule the appointment for 9:15 tomorrow. But let's say he's out of town, okay, and truly can't be until Saturday. That's okay. I'm going to set a reminder in the CRM to call him at 6:30 on Friday night, and I'm going to send him on 6:30 on Friday night. I'm going to call him and schedule that Saturday morning appointment. There were 2 reasons, okay, and I've got a couple questions I'll get to in just a second. There were 2 reasons why I don't set that Saturday appointment on a Monday. One is that I just gave him new car fever. He's going to buy a car between Monday and Saturday. And 2, he's going to get buyer's remorse before he ever gets a chance to buy. He's going to start thinking about buying a car, and getting a new truck, and he's going to talk himself out of it before Saturday comes. So never set. Now, I'm not talking about a traditional internet lead. I'm talking about, I called this customer and I said, I've got a buyer in immediate need for your vehicle. I'm the one who instigated this. I'm not setting a Saturday appointment on a Monday. All right, let's get to our 2 questions. I got all these customizations and you didn't even ask me. That's a great question. So we've called someone, we finally got a hold of them. They put all this crazy stuff on their vehicle, right? And our form didn't even ask about that crazy stuff, right? And so they know that it's worth more. I'm going to be excited for them. Oh my gosh, we love custom vehicles. Let's do this. I can't give you a value sight unseen for all those custom, because some people do custom right and some people do it wrong, as you know. So let's do this. Let's schedule a priority appraisal where my used car manager can give you a firm written offer and he can take into account all of those custom pieces. Now, I have 2 priority appraisals on Civics this afternoon. I've got a 215 and a 245. Which one works better for you? Great question. All right, so Frank Smith said, what's your advice for service customers that are in for routine maintenance, etc.? Listen, I love the Will Trade Keys. This is a great place to go and generate even more trade leads than you ever have before. And that is, you go into the service drive. If I were selling cars today, folks, I would ask to just work the service drive. And I'd get in about whenever the service customers start arriving, and I would start doing appraisals on people's vehicles, right? And I would offer to trade keys. There are a lot of different tools that'll help you with this. Your CRM should be able to help you pinpoint, hey, this customer's in equity, let's go in and have the discussion with them. But for the most part, you've got to get them to catch new car fever. So I want that customer to test drive something while I give them a vehicle appraisal. It's not enough. If they're just sitting there and they're waiting for their vehicle to be repaired, I want to come to them and say, Mrs. Jones, my name's Steve Stauning. I'm one of the sales associates here. I don't know if you know this, but you have what we call a desirable vehicle. We're not getting enough 15 Civics for our inventory. Would you mind if I gave you a written appraisal on that Civic? And what's she going to say? No, leave me alone? Leave my family alone? No, she's going to say sure. And so I'm going to do the appraisal. And in the meantime, I'm going to get her a similarly equipped Civic, maybe a little nicer, brand new, or Accord, and I'm going to ask her to run out and test drive it while I get her appraisal ready, okay? And then she's going to get new car fever. And then when she comes back, I've got more to give her than just here's what we're going to give you for your vehicle, but rather here's what the whole deal looks like, and here's how we're going to keep you at the same payment. All right, great question. So, by the way, both of those questions were objections that we didn't address. And what I want you to understand, I want to teach you something that I learned in 1985. My first sales manager taught me this. In 1985, he said that he taught me how to overcome a few objections, but he said, you know what, Stauning? If you ever hit an objection that you don't know how to overcome, you need to aim for your goal. Now, our goal here is an appointment that shows, right? We're talking to people on the phone right now. And what he meant by aim was we need to acknowledge the objection, then we need to ignore the objection, and then we need to move on to our goal. So in this case, our goal is to set the appointment. So for all uncommon objections, I want to acknowledge, I want to ignore, and I want to move on, right? So the customer says something, and let's use a common objection and answer it with aim. Customer says, I'm not coming in until you give me a firm written appraisal on my vehicle. I'm going to acknowledge that. Mrs. Jones, I can completely appreciate that. That makes perfect sense to me that you'd want to get a firm written offer before coming down to the dealership to look at cars. Okay? Now I'm going to ignore it. But as you know, Mrs. Jones, only a trained appraiser knows what your vehicle is worth, and it would be irresponsible for a dealer to give you that information over the phone. Now I'm going to move on. Now I do have 2 appraisal times open with my trained appraiser this afternoon. I've got a 2:45 and a 3:15. Which one works better for you? Acknowledge, ignore, move on. And remember, whenever we're talking trade, remember those secret words. It would be irresponsible for a dealer to give you that information over the phone. Only a trained appraiser knows what your vehicle is worth. Now, regardless of what happens on the phone, you need to stay firm. You cannot give a value to that to the owner marketing customer, and you cannot give a firm value to the trade customer until they come in the door. See, some prospects are going to demand a firm value be provided over phone or via email. And in these cases, you should stay firm and not provide that new value or even a range or a ballpark. And I've heard salespeople do this, and I want to pull out my hair, but I've heard them on the phone say to a customer who wants a new range and they're not allowed to give it, they say, hey, go to Kelley Blue Book and see what they say about your car. Are you crazy? You're sending your customer off to a site that has 3 million used cars for sale? Time out. Stick to the talk tracks. Stay firm. Don't provide that new value or new range for the prospect's vehicle. Only a trained appraiser knows what any vehicle is worth, and it'd be irresponsible for anybody to give a value sight unseen. Now, if available, if your dealership is using the gift cards like the Hook Logic or the Insight gift cards on your website, offer to pay for the prospect's gas using the dealership gift card form. Have them complete that form. They can get the $25 Target or Starbucks gift card if your manager says it's okay to get them in the door. So you need to see their vehicle. They say, I'm not driving all the way down there. You say, well, listen, what if I compensate you for gas? What if I give you a $25 Target gift card if you'll just come down and let us appraise your vehicle? So you use that Target gift card or that Starbucks gift card, whatever gift card company you're using, use that to your advantage. Never, ever send them to a third-party site for verification. Never send these people off to KBB or AutoTrader or Cars.com or Craigslist or anywhere else to try to justify the value that you've given them. You cannot sell an empty seat. No matter what happens, you need to remember that. You cannot sell an empty seat. And remember this, if they're not willing to set an appointment with you, they're not a fit. They're simply not a fit. Now, little differences matter. Little words matter. Little things matter. I taught it would be irresponsible for a dealer to give that information over the phone. Only a trained appraiser knows what your vehicle is worth. I taught that for a week in a brand new BDC. We went live. So all week long we were doing role play. And all the BDC agents would reply back to me when I say, I'm not coming in until you give me a firm written offer. And all the BDC agents came back with, it would be irresponsible for a dealer to give that information over the phone. All week in practice. So we go live on the phones on that Friday. The first call that a BDC agent got that wanted trade value, she replied this. She said, it's not our policy to give trade value over the phone. Is that what I taught? It's not what I taught. I didn't teach it's not our policy to give trade value over the phone. I said it would be irresponsible for a dealer to give that information over the phone. You need to understand the difference. Little differences matter. When I say it's not our policy to give trade value over the phone, I make my dealership look like the bad guys, don't I? But if I say it'd be irresponsible for any dealer to give you a value sight unseen because only a trained appraiser knows what your vehicle is worth, then I'm looking out for you, aren't I? So it's important to understand that little differences matter. Little differences matter in the way that you ask for the time for the appointment. If you say, I have 2 appointment times open today, versus saying we have 2 appraisal times open on Accords this morning, we've got a 10:15 and a 10:45, which one works better for you, you seem entrenched. You seem as if the dealership's too busy. I've heard salespeople say, I have 2 appointment times open today. I've got a 10:45 and 11:15. Which one works better for you? You're making it like the appointment time is with me, not with the appraiser, and you only have 2 for the whole day. Well, you're too busy for me. I'm going to leave. What if we're talking to someone who can be there at lunch, but it's early morning, and we say, I've got 2 appraisal times open on Accords this morning. I've got a 10:15 and a 10:45. Which one works better for you? But they can't get there till after 12. Well, if we say it the way I said it, they'll come back and say, oh, I can be there after 12. And I'm going to say, great. I've got a 12:15 and a 12:45. Which one works better for you? See, I'm not limiting myself to only 2 appointment times. And by the way, appointment times matter. If you let someone set an appointment for around 5 o'clock versus you saying at 5:15, don't expect them to show. Around 5 o'clock is not an appointment. And all appointment times you offer should be at the 15 and 45 if you want the customer to actually show up at your dealership on time, because 15 and 45 sound like more firm appointment times. So you're going to get this question. Customer's going to say, I'm going to say to the customer, I've got a 5:15, 5:45, which one works better for you? They're going to say, well, hell, I don't know what time I can be there. How late y'all open? Or what time do you close? You need to reply with this. You need to say, we close at 8, but our last open appraisal time for Tundras today is for 6:15. We've got a 5:45 and a 6:15. Which one works better for you? See, it's important to say it that way. It's important to understand that the last appointment offered for any day should be no later than an hour and 45 minutes prior to closing, because you want time to sell this customer a car. People will do what we tell them to do. So if I tell them that the last appraisal times for Tundras this afternoon is for 6:15, they'll find a way to make it. Now, if they can't, let's say they live 2 hours away, and let's say it's 5 o'clock right now, and they say something like, I live 2 hours away, I can't get there till after 7. I'm going to make an exception and set that appointment, but not until I've already tried to set that appointment for 6:15. Here's the opposite of that. And I want to be clear, make sure you understand what I'm talking about. Someone says, what time do you close? And you answer, we close at 8. You know what you're doing? It's a tennis match, right? What time do you close? We close at 8. You get the ball back in their court. What do they say back to we close at 8? I'll be in before 8. And then you say, great, be sure and ask for me. Is that customer going to show? No, they're not going to show. You know they're not going to show. But the few times they do show, 1 out of 30 that they show when they say, I'll be in before 8. What does before 8 mean to this customer? You close at 8. You said we close at 8. They said, I'll be in before 8. What does before 8 mean to a prospect? If you put it on hashtag UDAdvantage and just put a time, I'll enter you in the drawing. Hashtag UDAdvantage on Twitter and put the time. I won't see it because we have a 3-minute delay, so I'll give you my answer. If you say before 8, if they say we'll be in before 8, you know what time they're going to arrive. 7:59 or 8:15 if they see the light still on. You don't need that hassle. Let's get them in at our time, right? Let's manage this. Now, Steve, you've given me a lot of talk tracks. How do I understand, how do I say these talk tracks with the same sort of confidence that you have? It's repetition, folks. It's role playing every day. When you repeat these talk tracks again and again, you build confidence because you're competent in the material and it keeps you in control of the call. These are the 3 C's of phone skills mastery. Now, when I say role play every day, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So I'm not talking about role playing in your dealership's sales room, right, where the sales manager plays the customer and you get embarrassed in front of all of your peers. I'm not talking about that kind of, I hate that kind of role play. If you got kids that are old enough to read, or you got a spouse who actually talks to you, or significant other, Write all of your objections on index cards like this. Any objections you might get. And I would do this if I was a floor salesperson. I'd write them for every objection I hear on the floor too. And hand your kid or your spouse or your significant other, anybody who can read and talk to you, hand them these index cards and say, listen, when Daddy walks by, I want you to try to stump him. I want you to try to stump him with one of these cards, okay? Because it's pretty cool when your kid looks up at you and says, how much are you going to give me for my Tonka truck, right? And you can look him right in the eye and you can say, well, Bobby, as you know, only a trained appraiser knows what your Tonka is worth, and it would be irresponsible for a dealer to give you that information over the phone. Now, I do have 2 appraisal times open on Tonkas this afternoon. I've got a 215 and a 245. Which one works better for you? See, when you role play in situations like that, you gain confidence because you're not afraid. You can laugh, you can have fun with it, your kids can have fun with it. Someday your kid's going to be a super salesman because he learned how to overcome all those objections. But some of you in the car business are no longer married. I know, that's weird, right? You got a mirror and you got these Post-it notes. Do this. Do yourself a favor. Write every objection that you might ever get on a Post-it note. Frame your mirror with these Post-it notes. And every morning when you're brushing your teeth, you're putting on your makeup, you're shaving, whatever you're doing, look up at the mirror, look up at one of the Post-it notes, read it out loud, and then look yourself in the mirror and answer that objection. And once you feel like you can answer that objection on the phone without a Post-it note in front of you, take the Post-it note down, put it in a pile. Save all the Post-it notes. When you've completely cleaned the mirror off and you've answered every objection, you didn't throw away the Post-it notes because you're going to put them right back up again, all the way around. That's how you role play every day. That's how you gain confidence, because you become competent with the material, right? And you take control of the calls. All right, we're in the home stretch. We've got the customer to show up for the appointment, right? They showed up for the appointment. Now we got to close them. And there are different ways to close different trade prospects based on how they got in the store. See, our in-store process is going to vary based on how we got there. For example, an instant cash offer customer who only wants to sell us their car outright for cash, they're going to have a different process than an owner marketing customer who I called on the phone. So for example, the instant cash offer customer who only wants to sell us their car for cash, all right? And we know their story. They're low on money. They just got to get out of this car. They bought a motorcycle. They're not interested in another car. That person, I'm going to they're going to get there. I'm going to give them a bottle of water. I'm going to sit them down. I'm going to go get them their appraisal. I'm going to look at their car, make sure that we can match that ICO number. I'm going to run them a check. I'm going to get them out of there. Okay. If I can get them to test drive something, or if I can get them to go look at inventory, maybe they catch new car fever. Maybe the person that came with them, right? Because somebody's driving them home, right? Maybe that person can catch new car fever. I'm going to work that like a traditional up is really what I'm getting at. Okay. But that owner marketing customer, I called that guy, I said, I've got a buyer and I've got an immediate need for your 2012 Tundra, and he shows up. I got to have him catch new car fever. See, I've got to get him behind the wheel of a new Tundra in order to catch new car fever. And realize this, my process is going to include this. When that guy walks in with his truck keys, he's going to do this. This is what you'll see. He'll hand those keys to you. He'll hold them out. He'll say, hey, I got 10 minutes. My truck's out there. Give me a price, okay? Because this guy hasn't even gotten a range yet. You need to slow him down. You need to take his keys from him. You need to say, great, Mr. Jones, I'm glad you made it in. But just so you know, it's going to take us 45 minutes to do a proper appraisal on your vehicle to make sure we get you the most for that Tundra. Now, rather than just have you sit around and do nothing, I actually have 2 brand new Tundras sitting over here, clean gas, ready to go. You can take one or both of them for a test drive. See, I've picked out a couple of vehicles that are similar in color but not the same, that are similarly equipped but actually a little better, Tundras, right, that are very close to the one he has but not that close because they have to be new cars. He has to catch new car fever. He has to make sure that it's not the same color because his neighbors have to know he bought a new truck, right? So I'm going to have a different process for that guy than I am for the instant cash offer customer, and it's important to know that. But no matter what we do, you've got to give a wow experience. This is all about the experience. It means we want to have a shortened road to the sale. We want to make sure that we do what's called in-store transparency. This means that every step of the way, whether they're an instant cash offer customer or that equity mining customer, they know what we're doing. There's never a time they're sitting at my desk and I'm over at the sales tower, right? They know exactly what's happening the entire time. Keep them abreast of everything that's going on. Give them that in-store transparency and talk to them constantly. Be a human, okay? Talk to them like a human being in active language. Great, Mr. Jones comes in, he hands you those keys, you tell him in active language, it's going to take us 45 minutes to do a proper appraisal, but I've got these 2 Tundras over here for you to test drive. Oh, and by the way, can I get your license so I can scan it so we can go on the test drive? I'm just going to tell him what I need him to do. I'm going to use active language to take him through everything. I'm going to keep him engaged the entire time. See, a 3-hour experience, customers are not happy about that. But they are happier with those experiences when they're engaged the entire time, because 3 hours doesn't feel like 3 hours. When I'm sitting, when I'm a customer and I'm sitting at that table and you're off talking to the desk manager, it may seem like 3 minutes to you. It may only be 3 minutes, but it feels like 30 minutes or an hour to me sitting at that table. So keep them engaged. Be a human, give them that in-store transparency, and use that active language, and always have a one-goal strategy. And we're going to talk about that real quickly. What I mean a one-goal strategy in the store is up walks on the lot. We'll talk about just a traditional up. Up walks on the lot. My goal is to sell them a car, right? But that's not my first goal. See, my first goal should be to get them to take a test drive, right? And so I'm going to, because I know I can't get them to do the numbers until we test drive, right? And I can't get them to buy the car until we do the numbers, right? I can't get them so I'm not going to think about the end. I'm going to start with each step of the process. I'm going to have one goal strategy throughout the entire thing. And no matter what, assume the sale. Assume the sale at every step, and with every breath, you assume the sale. The fact of the matter is you can close people at 80% today, right? If you assume the sale and they're there for an appointment, 80%. So no silly road to the sale questions ever with your appointments. Don't ever ask them, are there any colors you wouldn't consider? Are you going to use this primarily for business or pleasure? None of that stuff. Assume the sale throughout. And if you're using a closing process, I want to give you a quick warning. I love a closing process. We know a lot of dealers aren't doing the road to the sale anymore. They have a closing process. From the second the customer walks on the lot, a traditional up walks on the lot, their first question to them is, they meet and greet is, hi, I'm Steve. Welcome to Steve's Honda. What vehicle did you come to see today? See, because the dealers who do this, they know that every customer has been online. They know that every customer has done 19 hours of research, looked at 24 different sources of information. They understand all of that. And so they go right in for that. They don't do the road to the sale questions. And then they appraise the trade on a kiosk like these before the test drive, because they give the customer the bad news, but they still take them on a test drive. They select the vehicle, then they go do the trade appraisal at a kiosk. They show them right there what the book says their trade is worth, and then they go out on the test drive. And it gives the customer time to calm down and catch new car fever at the same time. And then part of that closing process is as soon as they come back from the test drive, the offer is presented, right? Both to buy their car and to sell them the new car. And that's called a closing process. But what we want to make sure of, if this customer is a trade appraisal customer coming in for an appointment, we may still do the kiosk thing to schedule the test drive, but they already have a ballpark. We don't want to give them a new ballpark at this point. So we're going to skip that step. And when they come back in from the test drive, then we're going to have the firm written offer. So it's important, though, that you be prepared for that most common greeting that I gave you a minute ago, right? Guy walks in with his keys. I say, hi, I'm Steve Stauning I'm Steve Stauning. Welcome to Steve's Honda. What vehicle did you come to see? He's an appointment guy. He says, you guys wanted to buy my truck. It's right out there. I got 10 minutes. Give me a price. You got to be prepared for that. You got to be prepared to take those keys and say, great, Mr. Jones, but just so you know, it's going to be about 45 minutes and take him through that step. Now, why a special process? Why not just treat trade customers like every traditional up? Here's the reason. The average dealer who gets a trade customer to show up for an appointment closes them about 30% of the time, okay? And it doesn't matter if it's instant cash offer, websites, whatever, wherever the lead came from, the average dealer who gets a trade lead to show up for an appointment closes them about 30% of the time. But dealers who follow the perfect appointment on their trade leads, I'm going to teach you the perfect appointment for trade in just a minute. The dealers who follow the perfect appointment close these trade leads at 80%. The 80% who show, that's 4 out of 5 that they're closing. Now, there are 4 steps to the perfect appointment. The first step is called strong appointment setting. But the goal is an appointment that shows, and this takes discipline, okay? Customer says, I say to the customer, hey, I've got 2 appraisal times open this afternoon. I've got a 5:15, 5:45. Which one works better for you? And she comes back and says, heck, I don't know what time I can be there. How late y'all open? It takes discipline to say, well, we're open till 9, but our last appraisal time on Camrys is for 6:45. Now I've got a 6:15 and a 6:45. Which one works better for you? See, it takes discipline to tell them what to do. All appointments should be set for today or tomorrow only, and that takes discipline. Remember our owner marketing customer, right? We called him on Monday. He said, oh, I love it. I can't wait to sell my Tundra. I'll be in on Saturday. We need to have discipline, have the guts to say, oh, that's okay, Mr. Jones. We actually have 10 more Tundra owners on my list to call today. If I can't get one of those owners to sell me their truck today or tomorrow, I'll go ahead and give you a call Friday and we'll schedule that Saturday appointment. That will get you an appointment for today or tomorrow for Mr. Jones, or at the very least, we've tamped down his new car fever until Friday. And all appointments to be a firm appointment require 3 things. They require a specific date and time. Tonight before 9 is not a specific date and time. It's a specific date, but it's not a specific time. Tonight, 8:15, that's a specific date and time. It requires a specific goal. See, the customer needs to know why they're coming in. We've got a buyer in immediate need. We're going to give you an appraisal for your vehicle. I have seen people do equity marketing and equity mining and make phone calls to people and just tell the customer that my manager needs to see you, right? They were calling yesterday's service customers and saying, hey, my manager needs to see you right away. And they were getting paid for an appointment. They were cheating the system. There was no specific goal. So we need a specific goal. He needs to know that we're going to appraise his 2012 Tundra when he gets here. And we need to get that prospect, in order for it to be a strong appointment, to make a mental and verbal commitment, okay, to the appointment. A verbal commitment is, yes, I'll be there. But the mental commitment is when they know all of the things we're going to do to get ready for the appointment. And we do that by recapping the appointment. So I offered Mrs. Jones a 5:15 or 5:45. She agrees to come in tonight at 5:15 to let us appraise her Camry. All right? If I turn into a typical salesperson and I say, oh, that's okay, we'll see you at 5:15. Be sure and ask for me. She says, yes, we got a verbal commitment. We got no mental commitment. Here's how I get the mental commitment from her. I say to her, great, Mrs. Jones, just to recap. We're going to see you tonight at 5:15, where we're going to give you a firm written appraisal on your 2012 Camry. Now, we're going to make sure that our appraiser is ready and able to help you right away at 5:15 so we get you in and out just as quickly as possible. But if anything happens to our appraiser, we're going to be sure and call you well in advance so you don't waste a trip down here. And all I would ask from you is that you show me the same courtesy. So can I count on you for today at 5:15? When she says yes, that's not just the verbal commitment, that's the mental commitment, because she knows all of the things we're going to do to get ready for the appointment. All right, step 2 in the perfect appointment is the appropriate appointment confirmation. And again, the goal is an appointment that shows, and your manager should be the one that makes the confirmation call. But don't spam. Use your gut. Managers only make one call. If you get voicemail, leave a strong voicemail. Because all of your appointments are set for today or tomorrow only, you shouldn't have to make 20 appointment confirmation calls. You make one about 4 business hours before the customer arrives. And we want to make sure that if Barbara Jones is scheduled to see us at 5:15 tonight, and it's 5:15 and she's not here yet, we're going to call these no-shows at the scheduled appointment time. You have to do this. This is part of the confirmation process. But I don't want the manager making that no-show call. That no-show call should go back to the person who set the appointment. And the call is simply this, right? We pick up the phone, we say, hey, Barbara, it's Steve Stoney calling from Steve's Honda. Just want to make sure you're able to find our facility, right? It's 5:15, she couldn't find our facility yet. The reason I'm going to make the call at the scheduled time is because I want to sell a car. See, maybe she was early. Maybe we work on a motor mile. Maybe she got here early and I called her and she said, oh yeah, I was early, so I went over to the Toyota dealer across the street and they're doing an appraisal right now. See, I got to stop this. I got to stop this before she gets in the box. I got to remind her that she gave us the opportunity to give a firm written appraisal on her vehicle, and I've got to get her to come back across the street. All right, third step of the perfect appointment is pre-appointment preparation. This is where we're going to get a vehicle, right? If it's not an instant cash offer, just buy outright vehicle, but someone who either gave us a vehicle of interest or an equity mining customer, we're going to get a vehicle clean, gas, parked in a designated area at least 30 to 45 minutes before they arrive, because we want them to catch new car fever when they get here. And we're going to have it in a designated area because we don't want to take someone into, some of you might have 50 Camrys on your lot. We don't want to take a Camry buyer into Camry land because their head will start swimming. They won't know what they want. We're going to pick out a couple of Camrys for them. We're going to park them in a designated area. We're also going to get a deal jacket created with VIP in large letters. And by the way, the designated area where we park those vehicles, you see there, sold vehicles only. We're going to do a deal jacket. Even for the trade customer, we're going to do a deal jacket. And don't overthink this. We're going to have VIP in really large letters. We're going to have the customer's name on there. We're going to have our logo, and that's it. This is for them, not for you. I don't care what's inside this manila folder, okay? I do care that it's in color. People will believe that they're a VIP when you show them this and you treat them like a VIP when they're there. Now, I want you to memorize as many of the details as possible before they get here, especially as a manager, because then you can do the in-store VIP treatment. This is where they're greeted and treated like a VIP, preferably by a manager. So wouldn't it be great if you knew Barbara Jones was coming in? She's got a 2012 Camry. She's coming in at 5:15. woman pulls up at 5:10 in a Camry. Wouldn't it be great as a manager to walk out to her, open her door and say, "Are you Barbara Jones?" She says, "I am." You say, "I'm Steve Stauning. I'm the sales manager here. Gosh, we're glad you're here. Come on, let's go get your firm offer for that Camry," right? I can treat her like a VIP. I can treat her differently than she's treated today, okay? Anywhere else, she's not treated that well. She's not treated that well at Nordstrom's. Believe it or not. See, Nordstrom's doesn't know her name until she pulls out the plastic. But I just greeted her like a VIP by her own name. And I don't want to ask her any road to the sale questions. I don't want to know why she's trading. I don't want to know, are there any colors she wouldn't consider, or if she's going to use the new Camry for business or pleasure. None of that. I'm going to have a done deal attitude throughout, okay? I'm going to assume the sale every step of the way. That's the in-store VIP treatment. I'm not going to take her down a traditional order of the sale. I'm going to walk through a closing process. Now, we're going to do some Q&A in a minute. And just so you know, because we have a 3-minute delay, I'll stick around and we'll wait for questions that may come in afterwards. But I promise to tell you where you could find my 2017 trade-in lead process. And there it is on undeniableadvantage.com. It's got all my email templates, all my voicemail scripts. You just need to go to undeniableadvantage.com, go to recommended, go all the way down to where it says trade-in leads, click on that link, then scroll to the bottom of that page, click to download my 2017 trade-in leads. And oh, by the way, you don't have to give us your information or anything. That's a link that goes straight to the PDF. So you can just download it. I won't even know who you are. I'm not going to hassle you. I'm not going to do anything. Go there, get my stuff. Now, these are all the voicemail and email templates you need to drive a connection. Okay, this is the trade-in lead handling process. So I got a trade-in lead. This is the handling process for that, for those leads. Now, this is yours to use for your dealership. This is not for sharing outside of your dealership. If somebody's interested in this process, send them a link to that page. Okay, send them to my page. They can scroll to the bottom just like you did. They can do that horrible, terrible thing and click download Steve Stauning's 2017 trade-in process. Okay, so now we're on to the Q&A. For those of you who, and please stick with me for just 1 second, even if you don't have questions, because I want to take you through a couple of steps before I answer any late questions that come in. First off, thank you very much. These are the Twitter handles that you should follow, at Steve Stauning, at UD Advantage. If you'll follow me on Twitter, you'll learn all sorts of cool stuff. I write all the time. You'll get all sorts of free information, and you'll know every time we post free videos. Now, the next webcast is on November 22nd. That is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Folks, this is my Thanksgiving gift to you. I am going to teach you on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving how to solve your turnover and staffing issues once and for all in automotive. I cannot believe we're even talking about this stuff in 2016, but you will be better off than any dealer in your neighborhood, any dealer in the country, if you will take that Tuesday before Thanksgiving, which we all know is an absolutely dead day, and you will attend my webcast. Now, it's going to be the same time, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, 10 Pacific. That's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Again, this is my Thanksgiving gift to you. You're welcome. Yes, you're welcome for that.